Story by her creation. I help people commit suicide, but they have to convince me to do it first. I've worked a lot of odd jobs in my life, being something of a drifter in my adult years, but this is certainly the strangest one. I opened this business myself a few years ago after my own girlfriend committed suicide. She took a pistol and unloaded her brains all over our bedroom wall. Most people think that would make me want to stay as far away from death as possible, but everyone deals with their grief in different ways. Me, I thought I would give people a better option and make people feel good, and then I put them to sleep. Really, I just don't want anyone to ever walk into their own bedroom after a miserable shift at work and have to see what I saw that day. Because I'm not just a cold-blooded killer, my payment is simple: $5,000 in cash and a compelling argument for why I should help them end their life. In this argument, I'm looking for something very specific. Some people try to give me a sob story about how nobody has ever had it worse than them, while others weave tales that are so disgusting they clearly just want me to go ahead and off them for the benefit of society, to maintain my good conscience. I need to know they have absolutely no hope moving forward in life. If I'm not satisfied, I pack up their money and I send them on their way. I actually say no more often than I say yes. This isn't because I'm worried about getting caught, mind you. The cops in my town know all about this little operation I run. They just don't shut me down because they make up a significant portion of my clientele. Mostly older cops who have seen too much, now too hardened to live a normal life. I think law enforcement here like to know I'm always an option for them if it comes down to it. Tonight though, my potential client was a doctor, an elder gentleman, with wisps of grey dispersed throughout his dark hair. The days are getting shorter now, and it was late afternoon when I let him inside my apartment, so I was surprised to see him wearing heavily tinted sunglasses. I started to give him the usual greeting, but he cut me off almost immediately. "Please put these on. It's for your safety and mine," he explained in a hurry, shoving a similar pair of darkened glasses into my hand. "Oh, alright," I stammered, putting them on to shield my eyes. "You can go ahead and set your things down over there and take a seat." I motioned to the living area of my apartment. He dropped a heavy briefcase on the floor and moved towards the chair, but I stopped him. "Sit on the couch, please. You'll want to be able to lie down if we end up going through this." He followed my instructions, dropping his visibly exhausted body onto the squishy cushions. I joined him in my usual spot, a hard and structured chair I would pull from my dining table, positioned at a right angle to the couch. Sometimes this setup makes me feel like a shrink, especially when I'm really in the thick of a story. "Did you bring me what I asked for?" I inquired once he seemed fairly settled. As settled as one can be when they're seeking assisted suicide. "Yes," he said calmly, reaching into the briefcase and handing over an envelope full of cash. "Although something tells me you're more interested in my story." I felt my face flush at this suggestion because it was true. I guess I'm a little sick in the head myself, but the stories are far more important than the money. I need the money to live, sure, but the stories give me a reason to keep living, if that makes any sense. "If it's a story you want, young lady, then I've certainly got one for you. It might sound crazy, but I can assure you it is indeed true," he mused, running his fingertips along the lining of a couch cushion. "Sir, I've heard a lot of things. You don't need to worry about that." I reassured him as I crossed my legs and straightened my back, readying myself for what was to come. "Well, I'm a doctor, have been for many years. I've always been comforted by the predictability of the human body. Sure, things can go awry, but anatomy, physiology, these things operate within reason, and I like reason." He paused to let out a long sigh. "Go on," I said, leaning into the conversation. "Now, I've been seeing this patient for a few months, and she was really convinced something was terribly wrong with her. The lumps," she said. "There were lumps falling in her axilla region, what the layperson calls the armpit. Normally that is some cause for concern for a woman her age, could be breast cancer, swollen lymph nodes, all that. I palpated the lumps. I found that they were squishy and mobile, not hard and fixed like one might expect if they were indeed cancerous. But she was absolutely inconsolable, and I knew I wasn't getting off easy. I scheduled her for an ultrasound just so she could see for herself that there was nothing to worry about. Bodies grow lumps as we get older, you know. I thought of the cysts and skin tags and other abnormalities that had grown on my own grandparents that will probably grow on me in the future. It didn't help, did it? He chuckled a bit. Hell no it didn't. She came back right afterward. She just wouldn't accept it. It must be cancer, she said. They just can't pick it up for some reason. I looked at the results myself. I saw the lumps there. But they certainly weren't malignant. I figured they were just lipomas. Do you know what those are? I shook my head no. You're young. Makes sense. Lipomas are tumours, but they're basically harmless. They're slow growing and made of fatty tissue. They mostly cause cosmetic concern, but if they grow too big, they can obstruct other structures in the body. I proposed this diagnosis to her, but she was beyond reason. Finally, I just offered to open her up and take them out if they were bothering her so much. She practically fell to her knees, begging me, "Please take this cancer out of my body, doctor." He was almost sneering. What happened after that? I questioned. I wish I had never done it. I don't have many regrets in my life. I have a beautiful wife, 3 kids. I've had a pretty good life so far, but what saw me, it changed all of that. He sounded near tears at this point, but he collected himself enough to continue. Anyway, the day of the surgery came. It was supposed to be a quick, in and out type of thing. She was sedated when I had her on my table. I briefly felt for the lumps under her skin again. I noticed the tumour had filled out a bit more, and it felt like the cluster-like quality that some lipomas get. When you open a lipoma up, you either get something like a neatly sealed package of fat, or you get what resembles a fatty bunch of grapes. Now those are harder to remove and more likely to regrow, but still absolutely normal. The mental image of blubbery grapes dripping with grease made my stomach churn, but I signalled for him to continue. I had to know what he could possibly have seen in this woman's body that brought him to my couch tonight. When I opened her up, it was nothing like that, not at all. Lipomas are fairly superficial, but I found myself wading through more connective tissue than usual. I finally felt the surrounding tissue give. I used a probe to expose the mass, and then I saw it. Them, whatever, I don't know. The growth was entirely composed of eyeballs. Small, twitching eyes staring off in all directions. He illustrated this by using his fingers to point up and down, left and right. The pupils constricted immediately as they were exposed to the light of the operating room, and then they fixated all on me, all at once. He looked like he was going to be sick. I thought he might be too. I've been wrists deep in necrotic tissue. I've seen all kinds of things that could turn a stronger man's stomach, but I'd never seen anything like that. I panicked. Instead of taking those things out of her, I just stitched her right up and sent her to recovery. I didn't even check in with her when she woke up. I just left. I contacted the hospital administrators, letting them know that I needed a break. Family emergency or something. I don't think my job was waiting for me, he remarked, exasperated. Not that I want it anymore anyway. Years of perfect surgical performance and one operation has turned me completely mad. Honestly, sir, I think that would break anyone, I countered, trying to soothe him as much as I could. He laughed briefly. I thought I would be back to my normal self after a few days off. What I saw, it couldn't possibly be real. I thought maybe I'd suffered a nervous breakdown, he declared with an exaggerated shrug. But the longer I had to sit and really reflect on it, the more I knew, just knew deep down, it was undeniably real. My entire life has centered around reason, logic, order. My work suited me in that way. But now, I don't know what to expect, ever, and it's driving me insane. A long silence hung between us. My behaviour started to worry me about a week ago. I was taking a walk to clear my mind, to erase that image from my mind's eye, from my imagination. he corrected himself swiftly. I was walking down my street when I saw the local stray cat. This tabby I've just always adored, but when I saw him that morning, I was just filled with the most nauseating feeling of repugnance, because its damn eyes were so enormous, glimmering in the early morning light, taunting me. What did you do? Did you get away? I got away, that's for sure, but not in a way I'm proud of. Again, I've heard it all. Just last week a guy sat in this exact spot and spun me a tale about how he murdered and dismembered his kid neighbour. Well, I pulled him into a little alleyway and just stared at him for a good long while, my mind filling with confusion leading to rage. I was out of control at that point. I just took my thumbs and he made a popping noise with his lips. Popped them right out. I hate to admit it, but it made me feel better instantly. Was it just the cat? I urged, needing to know. So far, yes, but I can't stop thinking about it. This obsession, it's consumed me. I can't look at anyone anymore, especially not my wife or my 3 girls. All I see when I look at them now is their eyes, distorted and magnified. It takes every ounce of my willpower not to take a spoon right to their eye sockets, just to end this madness. At that point, I think he started to cry from behind those dark glasses. You have no idea how hard it is, and I know I will never get better, because even though you're wearing those glasses, all I can think about is your eyes and how phenomenal it would feel to just force them right out of your skull. I squirmed a bit in my seat. It's not often that a client will indirectly threaten me like that. And I'm sorry for that. I'm so sorry. But it is the truth. Please, you have to help me, he snivelled. I was satisfied then. His debt to me had been paid in full. Please lie down on the couch. I'm going to prepare the injection. I'm not going to go into massive detail about the entire process. It all feels pretty mundane to me now. First I ready the needle, then find a vein. At that point I'll usually ask if my client has any last words before we begin. The doctors were, please don't watch me as I die. I want to die in peace. And I know I can't do that if I know you're looking at me. I didn't. I have more respect for my clients than to disregard their last wishes. Once I was sure he had passed, nice and peaceful, I removed those tinted glasses. The multitude of scratches, swollen and bruised surrounding his glassy eyes, confirmed what I already knew. He had tried to extract his own eyes before seeking my services. This fact only solidified my judgment. There truly was no hope left for him.